and so on only know about is the facade of the way that the world works. So actually, I used to think that the royal families had almost no power, but in fact the royal family is extremely powerful and they still have a great sway. But people don't. We're back on live. But people don't realize the sway
personally or in a global sense.
In the so-called global Vatican, she has to show them respect, because actually there is a hierarchy, and that hierarchy is very real.
As monarchs, they represent this monarchical representation of the people that they claim to represent. But I'm still struggling to find, because most Catholics are apostates. Most Catholics don't follow their faith. Most Catholics use contraception. Most Catholics have annulments instead of divorces. There are so many things in the Catholic world that are completely different ever since the 1960s. So as far as its influence to say, look, if you don't follow the teachings, you're going to go to hell, has no effect.
Where is the evolved?
Where's the partially evolved?
The leap, doesn't it? Have faith in the whole theory of evolution and then understand the gap filled with the leap, and that doesn't make sense. But I'm still interested.
And even the timelines, we can't the timelines of billions of years.
They keep making
if you allow for the flood, and I walk around London and I can see evidence of our cities having been flooded, and there's people who look into an area of research called mud flood, and if you go and just type in mud flood into your computer, you'll find that we're excavating buildings where there's 3 stories below the mud, where the windows, doors, and all of that have been inundated, and we find this in cities across the world, across the planet.
Very recent,
recent, like in the last 200 years. The buildings can't be that old. So actually the idea that we've been inundated before and we've lost a whole lot of memory and so on. And now how do you pull off such a grand lie? You have to have secret organizations. Now you look into the Freemasonry, into the Rosicrucians and all these other secret organizations who, by it seems, all often link back to either Jewish Freemasonry or the Catholic hierarchy. So it's important. See, when we look at the world from the BBC standpoint, from like the very CNN type of view of the world, we're only seeing the very very first layer, and there are so many layers of complexity that sit beneath it.
What do you think about this? I mean,
sorry about the stream breaking, guys.
No, you're fine. See, I'm drawn to this communitarian response, which falls outside of being a victim of progressive and conservative polarities. So that all throughout history there have been groups of people who say, we'll let the world do what it's going to do, but we'll group together with people with like-minded kind of understandings, philosophies, religion, and we will carry on doing what we think is right. So when you mention about the power structures and the controlling and the Illuminati, I spent years going through that, and then I said to myself, you know what, I'm going to go and buy myself a mobile home, an acre, I'm going to get some chickens, I'm going to live off the grid, nearby with people who feel similar. You know what? The power is only effective because you use the power.
Agreed.
Babylon ceases to control you when you cease to be controlled by it, which means you're attaching it like a leech and sucking off it. You walk away and you get off the nipple. Admittedly, land ownership is a difficult thing, but I'd much rather a quarter of an acre of rubbishy land and a mobile home than a flipping mortgage and all the rest of it. So all I do is recommend everybody who maybe gets upset about all the machinations of the Illuminati and the control and everything else to say, you know what? They've got no power over me and my generations, more importantly. That's why we've got to raise our kids to think that way. You go down to South America and buy a few acres like the Amish, because I lived with the Amish for about 4 years, and I really like the fact that they withstood the persecution, the Christian wars, everything else, and you'll find little groups of them here. They're multi-generational families that don't go in their own way, and they're living simply, and they're honestly, I just say grasp the freedom if you can, and maybe release yourself from the fear.
Our sovereignty has been stolen by this system, and you sound like you've taken that back.
I say anyone who wants to cash their chips in, let's say you've got 20,000 equity in your house, which is a piddly amount of equity, go and buy a quarter of an acre and a mobile home in Ireland, get yourself a 30-foot polytunnel, live debt-free, get some chickens, you'll love it. Have loads of children, the benefits good there as well.
Well, we're on the same page, man.
Anyway,
we're on the same page,
God
brother.
bless you anyway.
All the best, How about that? You see, that's amazing. That's a full-fat Catholic, though. He was like not wanting to hear about it, but he's made good strides to break himself away from the system, because the system is about control. I think that actually where he and I would differ is that I think that humanity went to work it out. We're not meant to run away. We're not meant to hide away from the system, but we're meant to, I think, look it in the face and maybe over time change it, bring about a better humanity, not leave behind the Sodom and Gomorrah.
Or stick around at least to expose and wake people up.
Yeah.
If everybody runs away,
Yeah.
it's very tempting to do.
Yeah.
But you leave behind a lot of very deceived people that really deserve a choice.
Yeah, no. I think we owe it to, if we are the creator, if we are all the creation, we are all the sons, children, or the fractal, or the God, resplendent here. Then we owe it to ourselves to come and share the truth about who and what we really are.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm kind of here. What's your name?
Tara.
Sarah. I'm Dave.
Tara. Yeah.
Tara.
Yeah.
Nice to meet you, Tara.
Dave, nice to meet you.
I think your son is, like I was, a full atheist or a full non-believer in anything spiritual, right? He doesn't want to.
Well, he's been baptized. He might be having a bit of a.
That doesn't help. I was baptized. That's just like, my mom and they forced me to get, baptized. So.
No, he did it by his choice.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I mean, we were actually going to somebody else's baptism.
Just doesn't make sense to me. Hey, evolution, and the Bible just don't add up. So the biblical version and the Genesis story of how God creates the earth makes a lot more sense on a flat earth. I said to my preacher when I was a 12, 13-year-old kid, the Bible's a flat earth book, I mean, that's all I was reading.
Well, that's what I was looking into. I mean, because it talks about the firmament,
Yes.
it talks about the four corners of the earth.
Yes.
So this
Earth is unmoving, set upon pillars. The sun and moon move, and there are small lights for the day and the night.
Yeah.
And they come later than the Earth in the creation story, but in the Big Bang story, the sun comes first. So it's all inversion. It's all about putting the sun, this heliocentric sun, at the center of our minds rather than God's creation.
Yeah.
Really.
I have to look into it a lot more, as I said, but it is an interesting question.
Yeah, and I think
definitely.
it becomes, if it's true, there has to be a good reason for them to make up such a huge fabrication.
Yeah, and this is what gives strength to your argument that there is a flat Earth, because the idea of NASA, I have had a chance to look into NASA and realize that a lot of what they say is absolute propaganda and lies.
Yeah.
And we rely on their interpretation of our planet quite heavily now. And if they lie about all this other,
how can you trust any of it? Exactly right, Tara.
But as I said, it's something that I haven't really looked into thoroughly. So
there's a great documentary called "A Funny Thing Happened on the Way to the Moon." Have you come across that one?
No.
Okay.
No.
Funny Thing Happened on the Way to the Moon. Watch that documentary. Also, Astronauts Gone Wild. If you watch that documentary and see Neil Armstrong refusing to put his hand on a Bible for £5,000 to his favorite charity. Or dollars, and actually all of them refusing and getting angry. One of them, Buzz Aldrin, one of them punches the guy for asking him to put his hand on the Bible and say, "You swear that you went to the moon." They refuse to do it. Every one of them.
Yeah.
Astronauts
And they're
Gone
all
Wild.
Freemasons, by the way.
They're all Freemasons.
And I did actually, before I was waking up, went to see at the Queen Elizabeth Hall Buzz Aldrin.
Really?
In a packed house. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
I think he was releasing a book, and a lot of people like to follow him.
Yeah, of course.
And
Well, he's a
idolize
hero.
him and
Yeah, he's a
everything.
hero. But
Yeah.
but I mean, again, it's like people are going to listen to these speakers on science theory as though they're heroes. Christopher Hitchens was like a hero of
Yeah,
mine.
and we went to see Brian Cox.
Really?
I
Really?
took my son. Yeah.
Wow.
And
I think I'd rather see another bloke's Cox before I saw Brian Cox again.
oh my gosh.
Oh no, that boy! No, that, and I really don't.
Did he really
Yeah.
say that?
But I've got some. Have you ever looked into distilled water?
I've made it. You know,
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
You distill your own water?
Yes.
Okay,
yeah,
good.
yeah.
All right.
And actually yesterday I made some facial tonic with it, and
Okay.
it's good stuff. And I mean what you see at the bottom.
Yeah. The distiller.
Yeah, after
Oh.
you have to double distilled water in London because
so
you
foul.
can taste. Yeah.
No, you know what you got to do? You got to put your water in the fridge. You got to chill it after you've distilled it. You got to get it cold before you drink it. It's part of the natural cycle. Because in the natural cycle, water gets drawn up into the very cold upper atmosphere and then comes down as rain, having been chilled. So I've chilled my water first, then drink it. It's much nicer than if you've just allowed it to get to room temperature from the distiller. It's got a bit of a taste to it, like not a pleasant taste.
It's horrible.
But it should be pure. I mean, if it's come through a
Yeah, you
distillation
think so.
process,
But the
no
flavor-
dirt should get. No dirt should get through.
It was just unpalatable, that kind of intensity to me.
Okay.
And then when you just distilled it the second time,
Better.
that went away.
All right.
And it was better. But actually, I did get a ground filter, so I've started just using the distiller for things like facial tonic and different things that you need distilled water for longevity, really, isn't it?
Yeah.
But yeah, so I'm just trying that out. But it definitely helped. You know, part of the waking up process for me was that I got so ill.
Right.
From I didn't even know
stress.
what.
Yeah.
And I went to the GP and was told, oh, you know, it's just your age. And I'm not that old. You know, I really felt really awful. And I really thought I was checking out. You know, I could only do about one activity a week, and that kind of chronic fatigue that everybody's getting now.
Yeah.
And then I thought, I'm not going to believe that. I'm just going to get some real food. So you find out there's fake everything, including the food.
Yeah.
And start going to the farmers markets where they're actually selling real food. Start drinking water that has been filtered and taken. You know, you learn that people are on so many drugs now, and they cannot possibly be filtered out. So you're taking in all this, who knows what, and you just have to get it out of your diet. And you know, it's gradual, but your health does. But the other thing is this electro, you know, magnetic EMF. So I don't know what can be done about that. That definitely has an effect on.
Have you got rid of your microwave yet?
Yeah, I got rid. Yeah. I never really trusted it. I have to say, but I did use it. For convenience.
But people are killing their plants by using the microwave to warm up the water, letting the water cool down, and then giving it to plants, and the plants die within 2 weeks.
Oh, isn't that interesting? Wow.
Yep. So it's really bad. You know, whatever it's doing at the molecular level or
just
the wave level.
Kind of manipulating. Yeah. There was a stone, I can't remember the name of it, from Russia, that apparently is quite good at purifying water too.
Shungite.
Yes.
Shungite. Yeah.
You know much about that?
Not a lot, but some friends of mine have told me a bit about it. And you know, you let your water run through the shungite, and it powers it up. There's something called Easy Water that you should look into. Easy Water, which is like a phase of water that people are using to kind of feed plants, and the plants grow 10 times faster, and people can get in weller and stuff like that.
Yeah.
There's a bunch of things that you should look into. One other that a friend of mine, have you ever had a stroke or anything like that?
No, I had Bell's palsy.
Oh, Bell's palsy.
You know what that is?
Yeah. Like Lou Gehrig's, a form of Lou Gehrig's.
I'd never heard of it. I thought I'd had a stroke.
Yeah.
It turned out to be this Bell's palsy.
Oh, okay. Because my mother got it's also called motor neuron disease. That's a form of motor neuron. Yeah, it took 7 months to kill her, but she died terribly.
Oh,
terribly.
I'm so sorry to hear that.
Thank you.
One of my best friends got that motor neurons disease, and you have to wonder. You know, there's all these kind of brain diseases that are happening, and they already are equating a lot of them with this electromagnetic field energy that, you know,
and also they put stuff in the air. They do they spray the air in geoengineering. They do a lot of that now, and I think there might be like nanoparticles of aluminum, as the Americans say, and that might be causing brainstem problems.
Yes.
So there's things that people should be doing, like trying to pull the heavy metals out. You can do like a heavy metal detox. So if you can use turmeric, but people use like a clay, certain kinds of clay, or charcoal.
Was,
not so good.
So look into that.
It's called
diatomaceous.
That's it, diatomaceous clay. And I've used charcoal very effectively to pull stuff out of my body, to pull heavy metals out of my body. And at the most extreme, I know someone who used urine therapy as a way of treating their condition. So look into that as a way of maybe, because it can kind of, what they say is it's like washes all the tubes, it cleans your body out again, because when you're born, you've come out of your mother's stomach, mostly bathing in her urine, because your skin grows out of that, your intestines grow out of the urine. So to use urine therapy, you might find that actually it helps some of the conditions that you got with the bowel palsy. I would recommend that, as well as pulling the heavy metals.
It's the baby's own urine, really, isn't it? Because they're in their...
Well, they do drink and pee. They do swallow and pee, but it's a lot of liquid.
It's not
the baby
mothers.
couldn't... It is. the mother's. Matter of fact, 70% is your mother's urine.
I thought it was just the fluid.
Where does that fluid come from?
Well, from the body, but you know, you can get all kinds of different.
Correct. But 70%, this is medical fact, 70% is urine.
Okay.
So this is, I mean, and because most facial products or skin products have got horse urine or pig urine in them anyway, because it's so good for you. People who with like chilblains, you know, sores on their feet, they can pee on them and they go away. If you get bitten by a snake, your urine will make your anti-venom.
So it draws. It actually draws.
No, it's like there's an electrical process that's happening in your body, and it seems to be. I don't know enough about it. You're going to have to do your own research on this topic. Because
crystals, I know there's crystals in it, because gout runs in my family.
Oh,
my
wow.
uncle has it.
Definitely address
that's
that.
The, the gout crystals.
Yes.
So there's crystals have an effect on any kind.
So imagine people who use distilled water and urine therapy with arthritis say it's like it's washing away all the crystals, all the rocks in their joints, and it cures those conditions. So for me, brainstem conditions are the same thing. It's really just a blockage in some pipework. So look into that as a possible, so pulling the heavy metals and maybe some urine therapy. Look into it. Nothing should be off the table when you realize how much we've been lied to and how much they want us to use the pharmaceutical industry rather than nature to cure us.
Yeah, well, that's the other thing is all the drugs that everybody's on now. Relying on. Get one and then you need another. To counterbalance the other one. And, it's very. And then you get into catch-22. Actually, my mother had a heart condition, and apparently the same heart condition now that she had is going to become more prevalent because of 5G. This congenital heart failure, because it affects the oxygen molecules in your body. So with the lack of, this is just, I haven't really looked into it properly, but it doesn't take too much of a stretch of the imagination to realize that if you don't have enough oxygen in your body, it will kill your heart off.
Well, and if we're all electrical, if actually what we are is a torus, like an electromagnetic torus, then anything that's electrical in your environment is going to alter or affect some things more, some things less. And if you're a bit weaker, then possibly more so. So we're going to have a check on my friend over here. Excuse me a second. Joe, how you going, brother?
Good, lad.
You want to say hello to my little chat room? This is Joe from Liverpool. How are you getting on?
The gentleman here, you won't agree on one or the other. Not this fella.
No, he's all right.
Fella.
Yeah, it's one of
So
them.
we say, would you agree on this or that? And he's just going round the block and round the bush. But
Yeah, this is.
he's got no agreeing. He won't agree with nothing. He keeps comparing.
Yeah.
The globe to a flat model, and we're just trying to stick to it's not a globe. We're getting nowhere with this, yeah.
No, well, that's why eventually you got to know cut your losses.
Forget about the globe.
You got to know when to cut your
What's this
losses.
moon landing bullshit?
Yes. What moon landing?
First base, that mate.
Yeah.
What's this? You know this Van Allen belt?
Yeah.
Right? They say it's so radioactive, you can't even get a satellite through it. It'll fuck up the satellite. So how's a human being going to go through it without dying?
And all they.
You're telling him.
Yeah.
He's the one who's telling us. He's been telling us for the past few years.
No, there you go. But no, that's right. No, that people don't want to see that stuff.
Because look at this, yeah. The last flight to the moon
Yes.
was in 1973.
Right. I thought it was 72, but I might be wrong.
We haven't been since.
Yeah.
Since human inception, whenever human beings have created something, with time, the technology evolves,
Yes.
it becomes easier.
Yes.
Like he said to me once, there should be a Starbucks in the moon by now.
Yes. There should be.
And now they claim that they haven't got the technology to go back there to destroy it.
But he said something last week.
Big question mark.
No, it's very subtle. One astrologer says that technology is old, so we didn't need it. But what about the data they collected? They got rid of that. Now that is very valuable data. They lost that data.
So if we wanted to analyse it, us to see if it was true, they haven't got that data, destroyed it or lost it. They can't even give us what it has been destroyed or lost. So thousands and thousands of years of telemedicine tech is gone, and they just go, oh, well, dude, it's just gone forward.
Do you know Werner von Braun?
Yeah.
He said it would be practically impossible to get a rocket powerful enough to go to the moon.
Yeah,
Even the highest satellites now, they're about 35,000 kilometers.
That's if you believe in them.
But like,
So we need to dial back.
Translunar space starts 100,000 kilometers above ground level. So no one's been near that, let alone the moon.
So you've got a question mark on all the space exploration things and all that. So you don't believe in that. So what about the shape of the Earth? What would you say? Are you on the fence, are you?
I'd have to do more research.
Yeah. That's good, Chief. Yeah.
It takes that. Honestly, it takes many hours of personal research. Hey, man. How are you going? I can see you got some questions, bro.
What do you believe about
I'm the human who knows that the Earth isn't spinning. Do you have an experiment you and I could do to prove that the Earth is spinning? One that you prefer? That's all you need, day and night? What if the sun was like a small light and it only approached, like it says in the Old Testament, that the sun and the moon were small lights that were created above the earth, right? So what if they're small lights, as it says in the Bible, in the Old Testament, and actually they can only illuminate a segment of the earth at any one given time, and as they travel across the sky, so they bring morning and leave behind the evening. And that we live in a place, like the yin-yang symbol, like we live in a place that's mostly dark until the light turns up.
What's the reason behind the lie?
The same reason. So you're a Jewish guy. Is that right? Are you Jewish? Yeah. So most people who believe in one of the main religions would accept that there's some lying or misinformation in some of the other religions. Now, why would that be? Do you think? Just to put that same question back to you. What possibility would be?
Without putting the question back, so you're claiming that all the scientists, NASA, all these people, we're very well orchestrated and very well oiled machine. Everyone's lying to us. Astronauts are going to space, they're not really going.
Okay.
All of this.
Okay.
Yeah, fine. Let's not argue the science.
All right.
What's the motivation?
To diminish you, ultimately, to demean and diminish God's creation. And we can work our way back to that. That's the quick sort of end answer, if you like. But just in the same way as I would say that religion has been designed to divide man from God and to divide man from man. So I think that this science of we came from a Big Bang, we evolved from the stew of billions of years. Okay.
We're talking about this specific thing. Why lie about the fact that the Earth is round? Looking at the sun and the moon, it would appear that those are also round. So
like a disc round or like a ball round? You think you see a ball?
I think so, yes.
Okay. But none of us can actually see that, to be honest with you, my friend. We only see a disc. We think we see a ball because we've given so many images by NASA that say there's a ball, but actually we've never gone around the back of the moon and taken a photo of it.
Really? So we can't see. Obviously, any ball that you see, you can only see after.
No, but if you could fly if you can fly billions of miles into the dark and deep space like the Voyager probes have done, and we've been around the moon a few times, won't you think it would have been like a no-brainer to kind of go around the moon at a new moon?
But we haven't even been to the moon. That's the thing.
Well, we haven't taken a photo of the backside. We haven't even managed to send a probe around the back and take a photo of the back.
I don't think that's true, but it's irrelevant.
But it is true, and I wouldn't say it. But I'll ask you to go and research that, as a matter of fact.
It's irrelevant. So there are plenty of articles and videos debunking the science, so-called science behind that. But let's put that to a side.
Okay.
Let's argue the science.
Okay.
What's the reason that we get these group of people coming together, this huge conspiracy?
Yeah.
And we're going to tell the people that the Earth is really round, it's spinning, there's this huge space.
Yes. Okay. Well. The difference between an infinite universe that's expanding and violent and so on, and in fact we just happen to be one of many civilizations or many planets where there's life and so on. It's something I used to believe, by the way, is very different from God created you at the center of everything. You are the most important thing. So there's a gulf of difference actually between that psychologically. I know that because this is the journey that I've taken over the last few years.
I'm religious too. I believe that God created us. I don't believe there's any life.
Good.
I believe that we are the center of the universe, so to speak.
Okay.
In that we are the purpose, the whole existence
Yeah.
of everything.
Okay.
But I can still believe that the Earth is around. It's irrelevant. You're conflating two issues which don't have any connection.
Well, okay.
You talk about evolution. You keep coming back to evolution.
Okay.
Which the whole point of evolution is to deny the existence of God, therefore to deny any purpose, and therefore to deny any responsibility.
But remember
Fine, but let's leave evolution to a side. Let's talk about this specific lie, which we say is a lie.
Well, really, you see, the way we get to a globe is through a form of evolution, don't we? Because we go from a big bang to a sun 4 billion years ago, which with other dust and rocky particles gets together with an Earth is formed, right? Through just happenstance of things smashing together. Then the current theory is that a rock smashes into the Earth and starts the Earth spinning. And that rock becomes the moon. Right? So that's a form of evolution from nothing to nothing, absolutely nothing. Out of a pinprick comes all of these galaxies and all of these planets. So that's a form of, let me finish, that's a form of evolution. That's a form of saying that nothing happened and then just by luck you happen to have this Earth. No. That's evolution, my friend. Because what is different is in the Hebrew Bible, the Old Testament, it says that God created the Earth and he separated the waters from the waters, right? So, and then he created this land, whatever this is, however you want to describe it, he created this. And that's a very different story than the one that we're told about how a globe comes to be. And of course, the globe, again, is like, shit, there are so many other millions and millions of suns, billions of planets, and so on. That makes us much less special than being, there's only one Earth. 2 little lights that go above it and a bunch of stars that are there for our information, there for some powerful reason, day and night and all that sort of thing. But actually, we're at the very center of the flat Earth. We're not at the center of a universe that's expanding rapidly. Not only that, if you're in a universe that's expanding rapidly, you need mega science, multi-billion-dollar science, and it's $100 million a day that our space programs are costing the world. You need that kind of science and that sort of money to tell you the world that you live in, rather than your senses saying, hey, this is the world that's yours, that God created with you at the center of it. They keep telling us, actually, dinosaurs were once here 60 billion years ago, and they were wiped out 60 million years ago, and they were wiped out by, a terrible thing. Now, God would not have created a situation where we could be hit at any random time by asteroids, but we think that we need the protection of government and NASA and Space Force, as Donald Trump just announced, to protect us from the threats, existential or the external threats that are coming from out there.
I don't think NASA claims that they can protect us from an asteroid. An asteroid could, in theory, wipe out the entire population.
No, because God would not have created that.
Yes, but
I'm saying,
according to NASA couldn't protect us, even according to them.
yeah. Thanks, brother.
You can believe that
Thank you.
God created. You can believe in this. It doesn't matter what the event was. Now, I know that the event that created the work, the Earth, the sun, the stars, the moon, all of these things was God.
Okay.
And that
So not Big Bang. You don't believe in Big Bang then?
you can call it whatever you call
No, you can't. You see, Big Bang is 14 billion years old,
No, I don't
which is very different.
believe in I don't believe in the Big Bang narrative.
Okay, good. Good.
If you want to call what God did the Big Bang, it's irrelevant.
I don't. The Catholic Church invented that, not me.
It doesn't matter. It's whatever name you call it. I do believe that Earth, everything, all existence was created by God.
Yes. And almost like in the days, the 7 days or whatever.
Again, you keep conflating, keep coming back to if it's a Big Bang, it has to be the globe.
Okay.
There are two things. God could have created a globe, which just makes more sense. Gravity.
Walking underneath a ball makes sense, my brother? No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't. Because if you and I had to ask for a model to be shown to us of that happening, they would say it's too big, we can't model it for you. If I was to ask the ISS to fly underneath the Earth and film Australia, where they were having Australia Day and celebrating something in real time, they'd say, no, I'm afraid we can't do that, even from 250 miles away, which is all they claim to be. Right, so we're meant to believe a whole lot of things. Now I say to you that actually, my wife said for 2 years, I was saying, honey, it's flat, it matters.
What we just said doesn't make sense.
Okay. Well, what part?
The ISS, do you not believe that Australia exists?
Oh, of course I do. But hanging underneath like a tick on the underside of a belly of a...
And spinning 1,000 miles an hour.
Yeah, but one minute, it's
Spinning 1,000 miles an hour.
where Australia is. If the ISS exists, it could take a picture of Australia in real time. It doesn't matter when you're because everything's above. Because all he's saying is there lies. I'll show you pictures later from the ISS from above Earth. It's a flat Earth. That's the same thing. There's no argument why they couldn't show you a picture of Australia in real time. It's a flat Earth. Why wouldn't you be able to do that?
No, the point is really that it's actually that that the relative to the ISS, they should be flying underneath the globe, right? Well, no, I'm saying that if
Flying above the globe. So you're saying any plane.
no, they're flying up the plane. They're flying above the plane. You said the right word there. They're flying. If they fly above the
Any
plane,
plane that flies, any airplane, whatever
Yeah.
the airplane flies to Australia.
Yeah.
All he's saying is they're flying above this flat surface.
yes.
Where's the ISS? Then it's also above this flat surface.
Yeah, well,
Or
I
does it
mean,
not exist?
no, I don't think the ISS exists in the way that people think it exists. I think that the ISS is a combination of tricks. They do their spacewalks in a swimming pool. They do their zero G and their sort of anti-gravity type show. They do that in an airplane, a 747 that can simulate gravity for up to a minute at a time. They use harnesses, which we can show you on many bits of footage where there's harnesses or lines or wires that they get caught up with. If you're willing to kind of watch this stuff, people have picked this apart in a million different ways.
That's £100
So
million a day.
yes.
And they can't get their photography
Yes.
together, so that
Yes.
amateurs like you find the
Yes.
discrepancies.
We're talking 70, how many years ago? We're talking a long time ago.
Well, no, it's not about belief, my brother. I'm trying to step away from belief, actually, and things that I can test, that you and I can test for ourselves. The things that you and I can test for ourselves is that water is level, and that actually we can find that the moon is chilling water. If you put water into direct moonlight and other water into the shade of the moonlight, the direct moonlight water will get that on average 2 degrees colder than the shade. This is a test you can do yourself. Not only that, you can watch the moon roll like a coin, ever cartwheel through the sky. If you pick a point on the moon at full moon or at the right time of the day or whatever, you'll watch the moon do that. Not only that, the shadow of the moon, if you see the moon during the daytime, will match the same color as the sky. And if it was a rock, it shouldn't be that. It should be like a black rock in the shade and not the same blue as the blueness of the sky. So there's a lot of things that are wrong with the model that we've been given. Now, why? Because as I say, it demeans us. Actually, it demeans who I was. The man I was kind of nihilistic. Nothing matters. I could watch porn or do drugs or do all of these sorts of things because there was no God for me. But once I realized that, well, there is a God and the earth is flat and we're at the center of it, I started to unpick a whole lot of stuff about how important actually I am and how sincere I should be living my life, how honorably. Not with the need of any book, by the way, but that the truth of what I should be, the man that I am, is written on my heart by God. It's written on my heart. So I don't need a religion. Well, it says so in the book. All of the books in the Quranic book. Well, no, I say to people, if you've ever heard me say this before, I say this often. I say that the story of Jesus is actually the story of you, and the story of Muhammad is the story of you, about how you and I can be that Christ-like being. We don't have to be. If Christ was a real man, then the story of Christ is allegorical about how each of us is meant to achieve some higher thing. We're meant to leave the Sodom and Gomorrah, the sort of gambling and the casino lifestyle that this world has to offer, and we're meant to find our higher purpose. And that's only been inspired for me by realizing that I've been lied to about all of the institutions that I once trusted. And I had a pineal gland opening through DMT 4 years ago, which put me in touch with God directly, I think. So those are my things. But I say to my brother, it matters immensely. And if we all realized the true divinity that we all carry, the spark divinity, then we would step away from the things that divide us, actually. And one of the things that I said as a young boy I said to my preacher when I was 12, that the Bible says the earth is flat, by the way, but my science teacher says it's a ball, and I believe my science teacher. So I stepped away from religion. That's the first thing. Secondly, I would say that I said to my mum, I have to choose this religion, that means that I have to unchoose what everybody else believes. That means I'm separate from them, better, or whatever you want to say, but I'm separate from them. And actually, everything in this world has sought to divide me through skin color, through nationality, through religion, through this, that, the rest. And what God actually wants for us is to find our oneness, our shared connection to God, our shared connection to each other. And you'll never get that through the aegis of diverse religions, unfortunately. As much as I admire, look, let me tell you that the people, scholars of religion, one more thing, scholars of religion truly believe what they're teaching. I don't for a second think that imams or Christian teachers or Jewish teachers are teaching something they don't believe. They believe what they teach. I respect that. I'm not saying that they're not, okay? But the same is true with the science guys. You know, Brian Cox and so on. They're going out pushing a version of reality that they truly believe in, but it's actually not real. And it's not to diminish them necessarily, but to realize that we've all been thrown into a soup of disinformation. And whilst we cling to the things that we've been born with, we will never find our true Godhood. All the best, brother. Hello, mate. Good. How are you?
Fine.
Good. You've been doing your research?
About? Yes.
Yeah?
Yes.
Do you have one of these?
Yes.
Let me just see how my friend is doing.
I'm telling you that buoyancy doesn't account for certain things.
No. Remember this guy? Hello, my friend. I just asking my chat room if they remember. We're here in love. It's all about love. But the thing is like just like these religious folks here don't want to let go of their religion.
I know about gravity.
Gravity is a religious belief. Gravity is a religious belief. But Joe's doing his thing. Troll. Oh, not the flat earth flying. I thought I might be able to help you. normal planes. Oh, Lord above.
She was shouting there.
All right, brother. All right. All right. This is all religious.
Piece of shit. So who are you? You guys a piece of shit. Who are you? Shouting at me. I was speaking normally. No respect. I'm just 17 years old. I'm saying bad things because of her. I never disrespected someone in my life. But now I'm doing so. For the first time.
It's okay, brother. It's okay. It's okay. You're good. Okay.
That's not the way of standing alone.
It's all right, bro. I can tell he's been a little upset. Hey, I got some information for you guys to take home. Do you know what geoengineering is? Have you heard of geoengineering?
Yes.
Yeah?
Not much.
Have you seen that in your skies ever?
Yes.
Okay, that's called geoengineering. American government are doing it. British government are doing it. And they're doing it ostensibly to stop the Earth from getting too hot. But I think they're actually doing it for other reasons, something to do with an electromagnetic frequency that we're meant to be getting from the heavens, as it were. But that's the beginning of a very deep set of rabbit holes. At the end of all of this research, I want you to know that this is given to you with love, that actually what I'm hoping that you realize is that you are like the divine spark of the Creator. Not that you should be following some government or any religious belief or anything like this. I'm not here to convert you. I'm here to alert you that there has been a lie perpetrated on humanity so vast that it actually dwarfs the religions. It really does. That the idea that we could be come from monkeys and live on a space ball that spins and all that sort of stuff, bullshit. That's the biggest religion on earth, is gravity and stuff like that. So there's a lot of research there. My friend and I are here telling to people today that actually the world is not a globe. It's more than likely some kind of flat plane system that we live on. So it took me years to kind of get my head straight on all of this. So good luck. Cool. Hey, Joe. Yeah, let's do that, my brother. We'll take a little break and I'm on my way over. I just want to tell this guy he's cool, man. Hey, bro. You're cool, bro. You're cool, man. I can tell in your eyes. You're a good man, good young man. Thank you. And I'm sorry that you've been wound up. You probably deserve a lot better.
I never done something like
Yeah.
this in my
No,
life.
I know. Can I give you some information to take away? Not a religion, just about NASA lying to us.
NASA lied to you.
NASA lying to us all. They never went to the moon, right?
Are you sure?
I know this. Take that information. Take that information and know that you are divine, fantastic. Good luck. I needed to connect with that kid. Some days things flow better than others. I hope today has been fruitful, useful for you if you've been watching some of it or you're watching this after the fact. Okay. Joe! There's... Oh, okay, yeah, go, yeah. Yeah. Joe's just got to go and have a leak. So I'll continue having a few conversations. Hey, brother. Can I give you a flyer? Information? How NASA has lied to us all. Do you want one? Would you like one? So take it away. Just share with your family. There's so much information there. My friend put this together for us, and it's just really good information on the world we live in. This is great here. These guys have picked up their own little thing with my ginger friend here. He's really hanging in there with his ball.
It is. Because you can have a massive balloon, which has got loads of mass to it, but it's not heavy. Because it might be full of people. But it's massive, it's got mass, it's got mass. Or you can have a cannonball which is teeny and heavier than the mass.
Ask any science teacher you like. They will tell you what I just sold you.
And if you ask any of these Christians, they'll tell you that the Shroud of Turin proves that Jesus was a real man. But we don't believe that, do we? Do we? Just because a science teacher got the question right is like what is mass or what is weight is mass times whatever, gravity, whatever. That doesn't mean that it's real. What things weigh, I agree, is a certain amount in this atmosphere.
Any of you done a physics course?
Physics course, yes. So you know the natural physics of water is that it's always level. That's the level that I know. Water is always level.
What level physics have you studied?
Well, I was... you don't think water's level?
I misunderstood the question. I clarified at the time, but you clearly didn't hear me.
Just got to a bit of water.
Water's always level. Hey, we know that.
But level doesn't always mean flat.
No. But you see, but we can say horizontal. So if I had to do a cross section of America, for example, if I took a cross section of America, every body of water, no matter its height in elevation in the Rocky Mountains or anywhere else, 1 second, Joe, anywhere else, it's always going to be horizontal or parallel to every other body of water. So level, actually, with sea level, water level, it all means the same thing. We hate to know this, but the Suez Canal is 100 miles long and provably level. If it wasn't, they'd have to put a series of locks to stop the water flowing to the low point, right?
No, you're misunderstanding how water functions in this instance. It's a matter of quantity over surface area.
I see. Now, can you measure that bending, though?
I measure the bending.
Yeah, because if it's bending, if water's bending on a ball, we should be able to measure that empirically.
Empirically.
Yes.
Okay, I'm gonna ask a couple of questions here. They're not about the water, but are connected. Don't worry.
Okay.
You said you studied physics. To what level?
No. We're not going to use your straw man, son. Let me tell you something. Let me tell you something because I don't have much more time now.
I know what language to use.
Let me tell you that we are told we live on an oblate spheroid. I heard you say that earlier on. So you acknowledge we live on an oblate spheroid.
An imperfect sphere.
Okay. So now that imperfect sphere, like a ball that's been sat on, for example.
No.
Yeah. Let's just throw it in rough terms. It should have a amount of measurement of curvature or bending as you move away from the point of the observer. Now, Pythagoras and AutoCAD will tell us that that measurement should be 8 inches in the mile squared on a globe the size of our globe, which means that over 10 miles there should be 60 foot of curvature, and over 100 miles 6,000 foot of curvature, right? That's their maths, not my maths. Now, we can't measure water bending anywhere like that. In fact, we know that other than a teardrop or a droplet of water, we will never see water, other than maybe a meniscus on a glass, we will never see water bending over any large distance. Actually, it's always going to be level from one beach to another. Over Lake Michigan, they got photos of the city of Chicago from 50 miles away. It should be 2,000 feet below the curvature.
Outright, but
The world record photograph you can check Guinness Book of Records. World record photograph is 250 miles, and we can see an island, all of that island, from sea level across 250 miles. The American military has a rail gun that will fire a projectile 100 miles line of sight. So there's no curvature on a globe or on a surface that they can fire something at 100 miles. Either that or
every modern military jet takes the curvature into account.
Really?
It's a matter of the design.
How do they do that?
They don't even. You want me to go? This is why I need to know your level of scientific.
Keep pushing. Do you know what a gyroscope? Do you know what a gyroscope is? Right.
I know what gyroscope.
Okay. So do you know how a gyroscope works?
Yes.
Can you explain?
Okay, what's the context?
No, how a gyroscope works for a plane. Like if I was a pilot in a plane, in a World War II plane, how would I apply my gyroscope to help me fly?
World War II plane.
Yes.
Gyroscope.
Yes. Well, a plane has to have a gyroscope of some sort. They call it the artificial horizon, right? If you don't have that,
the thing that basically just reminds them which direction is down.
No, it makes sure that their nose is in the right attitude so that they don't crash into the ground or go up into the sky.
Sorry, I simplified it a bit too much.
All right. So do you know how that works then, the gyroscope?
This is one gyroscope's not the same as the other. This is why I want the context.
Well, no, a gyroscope. Okay, let me explain, because you're dancing. You're dancing, my friend. Let me tell you. This is how a gyroscope works. You spin the gyroscope up. Yes, at whatever point you spin the gyroscope up, that will be considered to be the level point. And as you
it's very different than the gyroscopes you were just describing.
Okay, so that's why I gave you a World War II gyroscope. Allow me to finish.
This is why I was asking for context.
That's why I used a World War II gyroscope is a mechanical device that once they spin it up on the tarmac, it will show them that level for the duration of the flight. If they alter from that point of level, they will know they're either nose up or nose down from ground level where they started. And it doesn't matter how far they fly, it will retain that same level. It proves that we're not going over a ball.
It doesn't.
It proves that.
It actually doesn't. It proves no such thing. You know why?
Why?
Because the pull, I know you don't like the G word here, but the pull of gravity is constant.
Okay.
As close to constant as you're likely to get with anything.
Okay.
Okay? So
now tell me then, if it's constant, if I'm on the equator and I'm spinning at 1,000 miles an hour, the forces consummate with spinning at 1,000 miles an hour are vastly greater than if I was standing on the North Pole, where the Earth is barely moving at all. So is the gravity pulling me harder when I'm at the equator and much less hard when I'm at the North Pole? Yes or no?
Okay,
if it's constant, as you just said, then it would mean that I would probably float off. I would probably float off at the North Pole, because the amount of force needed to hold me on a spinning globe at 1,000 miles an hour is far less than the force needed to hold me in bodies of water spinning at 200 miles an hour if I was at 70 degrees north.
Not really. Again, you're misunderstanding.
Cheers, guys.
Again,
Thanks for your help.
You're misunderstanding much of the science here.
All right. Well, I've got to take a break, but I've enjoyed talking with you, my friend. I have enjoyed talking to you. Your mother is a genius, though. I've got to go. You know what, the expression flogging a dead horse does come to mind. My Muslim brothers and sisters here are obviously doing their thing. Where's my friend Joe? I'm going to take a little break, and then I'll be back in 10 minutes or so. If you can rejoin me, that would be great. Thanks for stopping by, my friends. Does that say 66? I'm not even trying to say 66, but that's 66. Thank you very much, 66 people for hanging in there. That guy is interesting, isn't he? You see how frustrated he was getting because and of course my lack of science education is the problem here. That's why I can't understand complex equations and theories like gravity and relativity. Anyway, that's all really useful and for people to see how others think. Thanks for being in the chat room, guys. I can barely see the screen right now, so I don't mean to be rude, but I'm going to take a 10-minute break and I'll be back like Arnold for a bit more. I should say thank you to my family for letting